I'd like to welcome everybody today to the gallery and to view Andrew's wonderful exhibition. I have a special thanks to all these people who have come from interstate to support Andrew. I'm sure he's delighted, we're delighted too to have you, so I hope you enjoy the afternoon, and I hope you particularly enjoy seeing this wonderful exhibition and look at the distance that Andrew has moved in this particular part of his life. We think it's fabulous. Ted is going to do the honours today. For all the Victorians, he needs no words of notion about who he is.
Now I do!
But for those people from interstate, he of course is the Honourable Ted Baillieu, and he is our former Premier. He is also our former Minister for the Arts. And with his passion for the arts, which continues, we see him at the National Gallery and around town at art events, who better to speak on Andrew's work than Ted? And the relationship between the two, you may wonder how that happened. It's based on friendship. Perry, when she left Canberra, came to Melbourne to work for Ted. And they developed a very close personal friendship relationship, and that has developed into family friends. And so on this occasion, we have somebody who really can talk about the man that he knows as well as the artist. So, over to you, Ted.
Lorraine, thank you very much. And it's a great pleasure to be here. And can I acknowledge Lorraine and this beautiful space, which works so well, not just for art, but for sound. It's just beautiful acoustics in here. And to acknowledge Andrew, of course, and Perry, and all of you, and thank you for coming along. I think for a number of years I was Perry's bodyguard while I was Premier, and she did a fantastic job for us, and it's been a joy to get to know Andrew and Perry. Can I just commence with a little story and for those from interstate who don't know, I was once an architect, and I used to say to people when I was travelling overseas, I was one of the biggest architects in Australia. Boom, boom. For many years, young architects who were embarking on a career were subjected to what might be described as an induction test. And the test consisted of being given a sheet of paper and a pen and being asked to fill the sheet of paper with the alphabet. Sounds like a simple task. But for young, aspiring, somewhat pretentious young architects to be, an incredibly daunting and gruelling task. And it was all about getting a sense of composition and a sense of pattern and a sense of confidence, a sense of balance. And for those assessing that test, it was very much about establishing whether a young architectural student had an instinct for design and pattern and everything that goes with it. Now, frankly, only the best or the tallest passed. Ross, where are you? Ross, I was chatting to before. The other architect in the room here, there might be some others. I don't know whether you ever did that, but we did it. And it's said that it was a test that was established first at Taliesin West by Frank Lloyd Wright for his students. A very daunting test. And in reading about Andrew's works recently in the Finn Review, you might have seen that Andrew confessed. He confessed that Nora Heysen had applied the similar test to him. When moving from one space to another, space being used from one part of your life to another, start, she suggested, with a self-portrait. And Andrew confessed to that, and if you think about it, it's just as gruelling, just as daunting, and a difficult test to pass in itself. And I think Andrew had a bit to say about it himself, and said it's about looking at yourself, bringing yourself out and bringing yourself into yourself. And he's been quoted as such. So you can, in many similar ways, It's like the Young Architects test. It's about where you're going and whether you've got the goods. Now, the fascinating thing is that Andrew not only passed the test with flying colours, that portrait in the front room on the left as we come in, that's the one, isn't it? That test actually revealed that for 25 years, Andrew's been moonlighting. Moonlighting in an extreme way. He was no novice when he came to do Nora's test. He'd actually been painting beautifully for years. Now that has raised a very serious question, and forgive me, I was a little late this morning because I took a phone call this morning which was somewhat disturbing. And I'll come back to that phone call in a moment. But Andrew's moonlighting has revolved around his time from 1998 to 2010 as the director of the National Portrait Gallery, founding director of the National Portrait Gallery. 12 years in a key role. And all that time, it seems as if Andrew was actually somewhere else. Now, he might have got the gallery started. He might have got the building. He might have amassed an extraordinary collection of portraits. And he might have got 1 million visitors in the first year, but as Monty Python would say, what's he actually ever done for us? He was actually moonlighting as an artist in his own right, and a very good artist. Now, the phone call I got this morning was from George Brandis, Federal Attorney General and Arts Minister. And George slipped in here this morning and had a look at this exhibition. And he's now very concerned about the conduct and management of the National Portrait Gallery and advised me that he will be establishing a Royal Commission. Very disturbing track record. But Andrew is demonstrating to everybody in this room that he has a brilliant touch. He would pass any test, and there's some exquisite work here. Now, you will read, and Andrew has written, and you'll hear him talk about this exhibition as being about landscape and about geology and about time. Now, I have a couple of other theories about architects. And there's another test that architects sometimes get when they leave architectural school. It's the blindfold test. They take you out into the Never Never and they put a blindfold on you, spin you around, then take the blindfold off. And you're meant to then say which way is north and what time is it. And only the best and the tallest pass that test as well. Time is a fascinating thing, and Andrew's written and talked about the time element of these pictures. And he talks about geological time, he talks about immediate time, and everything in between. And I look at these pictures and the architect in me says, I think I know what time of day they were painted. It leaps out at me. And it's about reading the shadows, reading the light, reading the moment, reading the sense of where the wind is. And I don't know whether I'm right, we didn't discuss that on the way around, but I'd love to know whether my guess as to when you were conceiving these things was right. And there is a sense of time about all of these, and not just the geology, because there's obviously a fascination there. But the other part of the test for departing architects is that sense of direction. And I have a theory that goes with it, that all of us have two instincts. We have an instinct to look at a setting sun. This is instinct around these sort of landscape issues. And an instinct to look away from home. We have an instinct to watch a sunset more than we have an instinct to watch a sunrise. We'll watch a sunset. And we have an instinct to look away from home because that's where the mystery is. Behind us is security and safety. In front of us is mystery. So we look away from home. So I have a theory about coastal landscapes, that you can tell where the artist lived by looking at the direction they look at, and Andrew's looking very quizzically at me, because the theory goes that Victorians generally, on the east coast, when they're looking at east light, are looking north, and therefore the coast will be on the left. And Queenslanders looking at east light, because we look at the light differently, whether it's east light, west light, south or north, it's all different. Queensland will tend to look south. New South Welshmen are rarely confused. They have a bob each way. Now, Andrew is a much-travelled individual, so he is very confused as to whether he is a Queenslander, a New South Welshman, a Canberrian, a Pom, or even, as he is now, a Victorian. But you can walk around here and I spot things here. Some of the stuff up Corunna, it's on the left, and that says, oh, he's a Victorian at last. And painted recently, he's intrinsically a Victorian. And he's looking at morning light or mid-morning to midday light. That's my guess. But there's a couple with the coast on the right. Now, you're going to have to explain that. And you're going to have to explain it at the Royal Commission. Because the questions will be asked. All right, you did all those wonderful things at the Portrait Gallery. But we know instinctively that the reason you actually left the Portrait Gallery was because in your heart of hearts you wanted the Portrait Gallery to be here in Melbourne where it should be. Because Melbourne, after all, was the capital of Australia for 27 years. And I have spoken to George Brandis, and these extra terms of reference will be made available in the Royal Commission. Suffice to say, this is beautiful work. It's so delicate. And just chatting to Andrew, the gouache is painted on the spot. And they just have a magic about them. And I would encourage to look at them in a sense of light, in a sense of time, and ask yourself one third other mystery question, and there is no test for this, because everybody's art's meant to tell us something. What was the temperature at the time? Was it hot? Or are these winter pictures? And I think these are summer pictures, mid-morning, and predominantly east light. That's my theory anyway. But Andrew, they're all beautiful. We wish you well. I had picked out some already. There's red spots on a lot of them. I managed to pick out some that have got red spots on them. But, there you go. It's beautiful stuff. We do wish you and Perry well, and it's a delight to see you with the grandchildren as well. Congratulations. Thank you, Lorraine, for what is a beautiful exhibition, and may it sell out in a flash. Certainly. Well done.